tax invoices and tax credit notes. Now, the rule which the UAE has for tax invoices is that your supplier must issue a tax invoice whether you are a company or you are an individual. For example, you decide to go and buy eggs and bread from the grocery store, then the grocery store is liable to issue an invoice to you within 14 days of the supply of the goods or services. And it may be a simplified tax invoice. Why would I use the word simplified? Because maybe you do not have a tax registration number because you are an individual, or you may be a company who is not registered at all, or you may be a registered company who does not want to disclose your tax registration number to the grocery store. Now, that is one case scenario. Otherwise, standard is 14 days. However, in a case scenario where the supply is a high in quantity, a large supply. For example, what the FTA imposes as a large supply is 10,000 dirhams and above of purchase. So this amount or more than that, you have to immediately issue the tax invoice. This will not apply. In that case, it should be an immediate issuance of tax invoice. And if you are a sophisticated buyer, then your tax registration must be there on the tax invoice as well. Needless to say that as a supplier, you are already registered for VAT, so you will have both the TRNs for buyer as well as supplier on the tax invoice. So that is something important. Next thing is that if, for example, the supply is in a different currency, the supply may be in pounds, the supply may be in dollars, then you will go to the central bank's current exchange rate, and basis of that exchange rate, what you will do is you will convert it into dirhams. So on your invoice, it must be converted to the dirhams. For example, the dirhams rate to the dollar is 3.67 dirhams to the dollar. Now, that being said, we have electronic invoices nowadays. So, in case of electronic invoices, the authenticity is extremely important. How do you check or validate the authenticity? Normally, you have the invoice issued on the company's letterhead, and you have a disclaimer that maybe signature is not required, stamp or sign is not required, and this invoice is inauthentic, and that certain details are there, or maybe there are barcodes or QR codes to check the authenticity of the invoice. So those things are available nowadays for the electronic invoices. And when we talk about electronic invoices, it is also important to note that you have to retain them as a supplier for quite some time. That time depends on whether you're talking about goods or services, then in that case you have to retain them for 5 years. And if you're talking about real estate related supply, you have to maintain those electronic invoices for 15 years. And sometimes you have these decimals and all. Nowadays, due to card payments and other alternatives, you can make online payments, you can make partial payments as well in decimal points, but the Federal Tax Authority allows you to round it off to the next nearest fills. So rather than 6 7, it would be 0.75. So you have 50 fills and 25 fills, right?